Hello, I'm Cheryl Peralt, and welcome to Friday Night Wake Up Call in your own home and mine in these days while we are Zooming. And this evening, I have three guests with me here in the house. And the idea behind this evening's program is to invite a few friends of mine I've been in collaboration with on different projects. And the hope is that we will be continuing with these collaborations. And so each of my three guests I will be talking with for about 20 minutes, which will keep me on my toes. And we have CJ Dunn here right now. We will also be meeting with Cynthia Franza and hear some of her poetry and her work in community arts, and singer-songwriter Ron Israel at the end. But uh, not but, I mean, and now I move right to CJ because
Hi,
the time
Cheryl.
will go by so fast. Thank you for joining me straight from the cafe, right?
You're very welcome. Yes, indeed. Yeah.
All right. And the cafe we're speaking about is in Hopkinton Bittersweet Co. Cafe. And, I read something on your website, a quote I love. We from Bittersweet Co. know we are successful when our community puts their arms around us. And that's
Yeah,
kind of the
absolutely.
idea of this interview tonight with you. And I'm wondering if, for starters, that if you could tell a little bit about the intention of this cafe, what it has evolved to with you there.
Yeah, originally we were at 28 Main Street and then we moved obviously next door. But always from the very beginning, I wanted to create a space that really was kind of owned by the community. Certainly, they had a very much an involvement in it. I wanted it to be a place where everybody could meet and try and find a space in it where it became the focal point of the town and the community getting together. I'm not too sure if I'm totally successful, but it's working its way into that.
Yes.
We've been very busy in the new location up until obviously all this happened. But I was very thankful, and I mean it. The community did really come out in their numbers to support me. And I guess the odd thing about the new place, not so much odd, but what I saw was lots of new faces coming into the cafe as well as the old regulars. So it's good, it's a good location. I'm very happy with how it turned out. I think it's a better space. I think it's more intimate. I think we offer pretty much the same food offerings and so on, but we've really tried to create the ambiance or the community feeling in it, and we used it in our new logo. It says bittersweet community experience, because I really want it to be an experience of the community. I want it to become an extension of the community, really. A place for people to go that's very informal, that has no airs and graces about it, where the food is just honest and the service is pretty quick and, good. And that's really what we're trying to focus on. And I thought we were doing pretty well. I saw great things happening in the first couple of weeks on opening, and then obviously COVID-19 struck, and here we are,
That's
Zooming.
right. You were, in fact, going to have on March 17th an interview with a radio station, right? And
Yeah, Darlene Hayes, thank you, Darlene. We had organised with a station here in Milford, and it was just around that time, and unfortunately we had to cancel it. We also had to cancel some other events that we planned to do and some parties that were booked in, but I don't think it's permanent. I think, I think we'll get back to some level of normality, I suppose, if that's the want of a better word. Pretty soon. Maybe the end, maybe midsummer, end of summer.
yes, well, I've been inspired by your creative vision since first meeting you and watching you plow through so many obstacles in your cafe and in your life also, and get through to the other side.
Hmm.
And also find out about your own creativity of that you are a writer. And I know I had tried to get you over to Wake Up and Smell the Poetry to read some of your own writing. This
Yeah,
is something some folks in town and beyond might not know about you. So I asked if you could share a little bit of your
sure,
writing before we move on and talk more about the cafe. Uh,
sure. Yeah, I've always been a writer, but it's always been a hobby. But I started to do an online formal course in in writing, and I put a book together,
Mm.
and didn't really think it was much good. It took me about 10 months, and then sent it off to a publishing house, and they loved it. So the book is called Looking for Leo, and basically it's kind of under the shadow of the Catholic Church in Ireland, and it's set in the 80s, but the story is written as perspective of an adult looking back on his childhood. And it's about four boys who become altar boys. And it's just their journey in life. And it was very lethargic. It was a great, lot of stuff that was very personal to me that I wrote about. Some of it is fiction, I'd hope to read a bit for you today, but things are a little dark in places. But I'm working on a second book at the moment, and it's based on chat rooms. Actually, it's about five characters that meet in a chat room, and you see a lot more of their lives than you do of the boys in the first book, and I'm quite happy with it. I just got approval on my characterizations from my course tutors, and they're quite happy with how it's going. It was always a hobby, but I think now, when the publishing house came back about Looking for Leo, I was quite shocked. I was like, "You like it?" But it's very different to the book that I originally sent them. They've edited it and changed quite a lot of it. But I read it now and I wonder who wrote it. It's
Uh-huh.
kind of, yeah. But
Well,
but
that's
but I'm happy. I started off doing poetry actually, and I was going to read one or two poems from my early days, that I wrote. So in the 80s and 90s in Dublin, there was very little immigration coming into the country and very little foreign nationals, and it was all Irish people. And we had a new kid in school. It was my last year at school actually, and he was from Africa, and it was he was very different, and we were told to help him fit in. And I wrote a poem a little bit about him, I suppose, in some ways, um, about a parasite, about I suppose people's inability to accept people, and it goes something like this: hidden among the fissures of everyday life, creeps sniggers of laughter and looks full of spite. One man's difference, a nation's fear. We are no different. He makes that quite clear. 3 years of bickering, bittered by life. It is my time to rejoice. For we look in the mirror, and the mirror stares back, not but with a frown, but with a smile. For he is normal to the mirror. He is normal in this rat race, normal to you, and the mirror with a face. So it's kind of a little bit about my own struggles, and this kid. He inspired me to write it anyway. I don't know if it's very good, but it got published in the school journal, so I was happy enough.
no. Yeah. I thank you for. Were you reciting it or reading it there?
Reciting it.
Wow. Not only writing a poem like that, but reciting it as well.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing it. Is this a debut of your poetry?
Sorry.
Is this a debut for you to read?
Yeah, absolutely. So I did another one. I suppose it's kind of a more about love for Nora and life itself. I wrote it as a very young man in London in my early 20s, and it's called Promise Me. Promise me, that's all I ask. Those faithful words so often abused, were once two lives connected, now pushed apart in life's digestion. To know and to love is a wondrous thought, but to clarify is with difficulty sought. Bear no remorse, it's life's discourse, to give and take at any cost. Friendship is but a godly gift, it's given and taken in requisite. And it was a bit about, meeting people in your life, and then they fall out of your life, and then you meet new people. And, in my 20s, I thought the friends I had then I would take the journey for life with. And it just, it's kind of a satirical look at a saint, it's a promise that, we don't always, it doesn't always happen.
Yeah. Well, it's pretty deep thinking and poetry in your 20s that you were writing.
Yeah. Yeah. I come from a big, long family of thinkers and deep thinkers.
Of painters and deep thinkers. Is that
Yeah, absolutely. I have a lot of my cousins write. A couple of cousins have published, and I have a niece, Aoife, and she's a wonderful writer. Wonderful writer. So I think it's in our blood, but we're all of that same ilk, which is quite not so much dark, but certainly deep. Very much enhanced by the Irish poets, the old poets of Ireland, who were, manic depressives, most of them, really, to be honest with you. Kavanagh, Yeats, all the, they wrote very profound stuff. And I think we were influenced very much, well, I was, at university by them. I think that shows in some of my work. Certainly in the first book, I read it now, and I find it very dark myself. I didn't realize how dark it was when I wrote it. But like I said, they edited a lot of it. For me, it was more like a play, but now it's come back like as a novel, and it's kind of weird to read it now. I've actually just about to send it off to my eldest sister. she's itching to get a read of it, and it's going to be the kind of family look at what I've done, so it'll be interesting to see, what they think of it.
So your family is your writing community as you're moving through these two novels?
No, but I think it's so personal, the book is, and there's a lot of references to my own childhood and to people we know that we grew up with. I kind of wanted to run it by somebody in the family before I say, hey, yeah, if you want to print this, go ahead. I just want to make sure that, that they are represented correctly, I guess, in some ways. I spoke to my eldest sister last week, and I hope to get it out to her on Sunday, but I have to wait until the publishing company, they have to release it to her. So it's interesting. I mean, I don't know what will come of it, but I think I'm going to go ahead and launch it. I might even do something a bittersweet with it. Who knows?
Terrific. Well, I look forward to hearing that. And I know there you have a Facebook page and a website for Bittersweet Co. And I imagine that the announcements will be coming through both of those
I hope
sources of
so. Yeah.
social media,
I hope.
right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I would love to do a show at Bittersweet, a bit like the one that you host, the intimate art of storytelling. I like, would be writers in the community, novel writers or book writers, to get together maybe, and we could do some sort of a reading a novel or reading a book, one chapter at a time, almost like we are the critiques, in a room full of people that, you know, that you're comfortable with, but who are also writers, to maybe, bounce ideas off and so on.
Yeah, that sounds pretty exciting, and I don't think I'm not aware of that much of that kind of gathering and sharing of art in a more intimate way going around. So that certainly would be exciting
Mhm.
for the community. And I'm just curious before we move on, talk about the cafe in the next 10 minutes or so. What what inspired you to write those poems, to write these novels? What was it something on your mind, or how'd the inspiration come?
I guess for the book, it was an incident that happened as a young man, a young boy, that triggered this the writing, and I lost a very dear friend at 21 to suicide,
Oh,
and that was really where it began. I was in London when I got the news, and I was horrified, and very traditionally he was buried and waked on the street where we live at home in Dublin,
mm,
and it was a time where young people just weren't doing it. Suicide wasn't a topic back then,
mhm.
and I guess I saw the stress it caused his family and indeed our friends, and it kind of prompted me to write about it. He was very much somebody I grew up with. We were as thick as thieves as kids, and I knew why. I knew the reasons why he decided to leave here, and I thought I needed to put a voice to it. So that's really what began the whole project for me. And then, I had some stuff that I needed to get out and deal with, and as a young man, and I felt writing was a good way of doing it. I actually wrote 9 chapters from about the age of 27 to 32 or thereabouts, and then I put it away and never looked at it again. And it's only in the last 2 or 3 years actually that I began to write again.
Wow,
And
how
it
about that?
kind of just, I can't, it was like, I don't know, like a volcano. It just came right out of me,
Yeah.
the writing. In fact, writing the other 11 chapters was much easier than doing the first 9.
Wow.
And when I put it all together, it was like a jigsaw puzzle. But when I sent it off to the publishing company to look at, what they sent back was really I was like, wow, we have a book. I wasn't really expecting it like that. But
Terrific.
that's
So
what
you
really
have the
inspired me.
publisher?
I'm sorry?
You have the publisher all set, ready for you?
Yes, yes, I think so. Part and parcel of the publishing world, which I didn't know about, was if you have a book that they're interested in, you need to be working on a second one before they'll even consider publishing the first one. Well, that's what this London office are doing. So I was kind of like, what? And they said, well, you need to get writing again because we can't just publish one book. So if you're thinking of doing this, so that's where I decided on the idea of the second book. I think coming into the 21st century and chat rooms and zooming and all that social media and all that stuff, I decided that that would be my kind of ilk. This one's much more grittier. It's very very much written now. It's happening. It's London, it's Boston, it's New York, and five very grown up, very confident characters, one female and 4 guys, and Yeah, I'm actually really enjoying this one actually because it's much more creative. It's much more, it's fiction really, but I actually do pull something from the first book into it, where the character Leo actually appears in the book, in the second book, just
Ah,
very, very, very briefly, but there is
uh-huh.
a connection to it, you know. And I didn't think that was going to happen. It just kind of came out of me one time. It's like, okay, let's go with this, you know.
So you listen to your creative inspiration,
I
and I
do.
look forward to your author's talk and reading
Yeah.
when you debut. Maybe
Okay.
both books at the same time. Who knows?
Who knows? I don't know. I don't know. I'm just on the beginning stage of book two, but it's going well.
Good, good. Well, in our last minutes of 5 or 6 minutes now, tell about the cafe. You had this vision, I know I was hearing from you, of expanding to having different kinds of art form there at the
Yeah.
cafe every night, including literary readings. And I know you because we got storytelling, true storytelling going over there
Hmm.
at Bittersweet Co. And we had just gotten it started again after a little hiatus. And it was a fun night where people
Sure.
gathered, and we had a couple feature storytellers, including yourself,
Hmm.
to share a story, take up a stool, come out of the kitchen, and folks showed up for that as they had been doing the past previous 3 years there as
Sure.
well.
It was a great night, actually. It was a really, really enjoyable night, and the audience, I think, make that very special because it's a very intimate kind of gathering, and I felt like it was a very safe place to tell a story. I guess that's the secret to it. I
Uh,
think everybody was there for the same reason, and they gave it their full attention, and I really felt very warm and inviting the whole night.
yeah,
But,
yeah.
I'd hope to do other stuff. I'm kind of glad I didn't kick off our program in February. But yeah, I mean, I have ideas to do entertainment, and one of the things about entertainment for me is I don't like to pay in at a door, to have to pay in. So I'd like to do stuff for the town and for people in the town that there's no cover. You come in at maybe 8 or 9 o'clock, take a table, and the entertainment is laid on for possibly just an hour and a half. But again, with the whole what's going on now, I don't know. I would imagine that my capacity is going to be reduced even greater now. I got a capacity of 49, but I think the new capacities will change and bring us down slightly. And I just think it'll take a long, long time for the stigma of getting together to kind of to make us feel comfortable again. I think it'll be very slow. I think initially when we get open, we'll be slammed. Everybody will be really busy for that week because cabin fever will set in and everybody will be sick of home cooking or whatever. But I think then the reality will be that we will have to be more cautious
Yeah.
with our gatherings and I'm anxious, but I'm looking forward to seeing what leads are brought out there and what kind of tools we're given to do it with. But I would certainly see myself reducing the capacity at Bittersweet. And it's all about safety, really. This the one thing I
Right.
think we've all learned from this is, you know, it doesn't matter how much money you have, what how old you are, what color skin you have. This is something that we really need to learn how to combat. And if it's social distancing, if it's staying at home, if it's locking down businesses, it could be very well become a thing of the future. And I have an 11-year-old, and I realize now that, you know, he's going to be very different than I thought he was going to be in my idea of how he was going to grow up because, the next 10 years eight to 10 years for him, it will be a lot about distance. And I often wonder about Gene Roddenberry, the Star Trek guy, the visionary he gave, everybody was kind of separate and there wasn't lots of friendships going on or groups meeting. And it almost seems like we've caught up with that. And this has brought something in where, children are going to be taught 6 feet apart and,
Yeah.
there's no more hugging. I'm sure we'll get back to it, but I think it'll all change. It will definitely change.
So what can happen now? What are you doing now at Bittersweet? You're offering takeout for time being.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to take out, and we're also doing dinners now starting last Tuesday, 7 or 8 items that we're serving to go for dinner. Thank you to the town, they just removed the bench outside, so I'm about to offer curbside, which will be great because I think, Cheryl, people are still, they'd like to order, but they don't want to come into the shop, and I really see that. And I hear of it through some of my customers. So I think offering curbside is going to be great. I'm hoping to have it up and running on Saturday, possibly Monday. But
All right.
That's what we have to do. I think you have to adapt. I think we all have to adapt.
Wow. I
Uh,
think we can learn from you about that because I know you have quite a story yourself, and we're uh, actually almost out of time. I know one of the things we talked about was maybe we could get cyber storytelling
yeah,
going
right.
somehow and have tapas night, and people
Yeah,
pick up their tapas and their storytelling at home.
sure.
So maybe that's something to be discussed more between us and
I'd
see how
love
we
to.
can make
Yeah,
it happen. Be creative. I know you're incredibly creative, and as we have to, oh, Cinch is on her way in, but I was just
sure.
wondering from you and your life and all that you've been through in your cafe as well as your own life, what would you offer that has helped you get through obstacles that I am aware of quite a few from your stories you've told me?
I think I get up every day. This is what I do anyway. I get up every day, and I thank God that I have a job to go to. That I have I put the positive things that I have in front of me first, and I put the obstacles to the back of that day. And that's really how I've always handled it. This is where we're at now. Let's get up, let's open the doors, and let's see what happens. And I think we all have to do that. If it's just getting out of bed and going downstairs and making a cup of tea, you have to get up and stay motivated, and we'll get through it. And I think the most important thing is to check on each other from time to time. We need to reach out more and check on see how people are doing. That's what I would say.
That's excellent. So I hope maybe your third book will be some type of nonfiction for
Yeah,
philosophy and self growth. So
yeah,
we'll look forward
absolutely.
to
Yeah, Cheryl, it's
hearing
been a
from you.
pleasure. Thank you very much. Thank you. I
Oh
really
yes,
enjoyed it.
and you're on. You have website for Bittersweet Co.
Yeah,
And
we do
you
indeed.
have Facebook.
Facebook
So
page, Twitter, and Instagram.
all right, so folks can check in with you. Take care, and thank you so much.
Okay, lovely. Thanks very much, Cheryl.
All right, bye bye.
Bye bye.
And now we have Cincha France about to join us. And Cincha also lives in Hopkinton. There you are. Hello, Cincha. I just need your mute button off uh, on your panel there, and then we can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, there we go.
Good. Oh, good. Very good.
So, Sincha, we were just talking with CJ, and we happen to be all connected here because Sincha and I have hosted true storytelling over at CJ's Cafe in the past maybe 3 years or so, right?
Yes, right.
And
It's
had
an
a great
amazing
time.
band.
So, Sincha, in our 20 minutes together, there's a lot to talk about with you because you arrived here in Hopkinton about 7 years ago, right?
Yeah, exactly. Uh-huh.
And you have been a creative force in our town ever since you arrived. I think you took off running, and maybe that's literally because you got involved. You started running here when you arrived in Hopkinton.
Yes. I started the Hopton Running Club. When I moved here, I was 7 years old, like you said. And we moved our family in the middle winter in January 2013.
Uh-huh.
When you move here, I feel the difference between, of course, the culture and
The
one
culture
of the.
being, where did you come from? Did you say?
I came from Brazil.
Uh-huh.
I came from Brazil with my family to live in Hopton. You moved in January 2013.
Uh-huh.
And when I came here, I like to connect with the things that I love in Brazil. And one of the things that I loved so much was run. And I joined the club, a Hopton Running Club in April 2013. And I met my best friends there and one of my best friends there and start to connect with the culture here. I didn't speak English at the time properly, so I had to learn English like 7 years ago. And now I'm super involved with the community. I met you in December 2013. I remember this very well as I have a program, Women's Art Forum, and I met you for the first time. And I start to be connected with the art programs here in town.
Mm-hmm.
That was my involvement. You are like greeting me so well, and the town greets me so well. And I feel so happy to live here with my family and grateful for all I learned, and I'm still learning here. And I do some wake up and smell the poetry with you. And I love it. I introduce 4 storytelling programs here in town. And you have some poetry because I always write poetry since my 10 years old.
Since 10
And
years old, huh?
yes, and
What
I
made
made a
you
collection. Yeah.
What made you write poetry starting at 10? What
Oh,
good?
I always feel inspired by people, and I always see people are much more, people are emotion, people are feelings, and my grandma always motivates me to write poetry. So she'll say, the things that I most love is the words you write. Not the presents, not the gifts, but the words you write and give me as a present. So it's a huge motivation to start to write.
Now you have an identical twin sister. Does she write poetry also?
Oh, she writes poetry also, some essays, chronicles. Is like the way she likes to write. And actually, she's watching now the program. My mom and my dad, they say hi to everyone.
Brazil, yes.
My
Oh,
family's watching.
I love the story of when you were about 14 with your twin sister and you decided to give flowers to people you didn't know.
Yes, when you moved to Brasilia, you live in Rio. I was born in Rio. You moved to Brasilia in 98. I was almost 16 years old, 15, 16 years old. And you like to give flowers for the elders you see on the streets. So you say, do you know you can make him happy or you can make her happy? She doesn't look so happy now. Let's give her a flower, a rose. Okay, you steal a little rose from the garden. Don't tell anybody. But you give the flowers and you see a smile. So you make people happy if this way to give flowers. And they are in a way of poetry or art is some way to give flowers to others. So you see how you can bring happiness to others' lives. And I think poetry is about that too. Art is about that.
I think that's symbolic of what I know of you passing out beauty and flowers through all the different kinds of work you have done in community here since you moved just 7 short years ago. And just to backtrack a little before we go, maybe hear some of your poems. In Brazil, I know you worked in corporate world, correct?
Yes, I work as a marketing professional in Brazil for almost 20 years. And I did many, it's a very innovative company there. So I have a lot of freedom to do like presentations in different way, like a theater or start a running club or enjoy
right.
people.
You got them to perform a play, your
Yes, to teach or to when you have to share the goals for the company and set the goals for the next year. Usually people do just PowerPoint presentation, and I suggest people to do something different. How you cannot do managers and employees play and do like a theater to share the goals for next year. It was a huge success. People are very motivated, very happy with that. So change a little bit the environment at our work. So that was nice. I love to work there. It's very nice, very innovative company.
Yeah, I must have loved you there. Why do you think that was important to bring different forms of creativity outside of the norm of PowerPoint to the people you worked with there?
Teamwork, motivation. People feel more motivated when you're like happy at work. They feel more engaged, more bound. I think we are all interconnected. I think they are more connection. We have more connection. We have more productivity. So it's much better when you do that. And the poetry, the journey, the poetry and art is always about that too. Connections. There, here. I didn't speak English. Now I'm connected with you. We're doing art and doing this amazing public is watching us right now. So I like to share a poetry in my I don't know if I have a lot of time. Can I read you one in Portuguese? And
yes.
Okay. So for people in Brazil, I'm reading Portuguese, but people in the United States, please enjoy Portuguese. I'm translating after a poem from my book that I published in Brazil in 2003 called Poetic Treasure. I don't know if you can see it very properly, but it's called Poetic Treasure. This is new, you don't know this one. Imagem refletida. Conheço a poesia dos meus traços, pois já me olhei no espelho. Conheço as pausas dos meus erros, pois já fugi da minha imagem refletida. Sei que posso ouvir o eco das minhas verdades e dos meus maiores medos, porque sou um universo único. Sei que a minha alma é um farol que sempre vai me indicar o caminho. Por isso, os meus olhos brilham. Já estive em vales escuros por não conseguir ver o que de mais lindo existia em mim. E fugi durante anos dessa ponte abstrata e quase invisível que existia entre a minha imagem e eu. Até que toquei no espelho e sorri. Aquele sorriso me trouxe um maremoto de sensações, emoções positivas, aumentando a luz do meu farol interior. E hoje, ao me levantar, sempre passo no espelho e converso comigo. Se estou triste, sorrio, mando-me um beijo e me pego rindo dessa brincadeira de conquista comigo mesma. Eu estou aprendendo a me amar cada vez mais, e tudo o que faço, e todos que se aproximam de mim. E tenho orgulho de ser um apaixonado pela vida. Now in English to help you. So I translate the poem to our audience. So, reflected image. I know the poetry of my face's features because I already look at myself in the mirror. I know the pauses of my mistakes because I already ran away from my reflected image. I know that I can hear the echo of my troops and my biggest fears because I'm a unique universe. I know my soul is a lighthouse that will always show me the way. That's why my eyes shine. I've been in dark valleys for not being able to see what's most beautiful in me. And for years, I ran away from this abstract, almost invisible bridge that existed between my image and me until I touched the mirror and smiled. That smile brought me a sea quake of sensations, positive emotions, increasing the light of my inner lighthouse. And today, when I get up, I always step in front of the mirror and talk to myself.
Wow. Wow. That's a
I'm
very,
sad, I smile. Send a kiss, say hi. And I find myself laughing at this game of winning my own heart. I'm learning to love myself more and more in everything I do and everyone who approaches me. And I'm proud to be passionate for life. This is the poem translated.
thank you. Thank you. That is very inspirational. The lighthouse of us, and
Yes,
shining our light is, and that is a kind of inspiring poetry we can benefit more from hearing now in these days. Did you have a couple more to share?
oh, of course I have. I have, I have this anthology. Remember this very well.
That looks familiar. We worked on that together, didn't we?
Yes.
And I think
You,
you need to talk about it because I think I called it the 350th anniversary last.
it's a little older. It's like 300 years.
That would put me at about 110 almost if we went into the future.
Yeah, everyone is like getting older. 150 years.
So could you
So
tell a little bit about this and then what we're working on currently, thanks to your creative vision?
thank you, Cheryl. And you actually work together in this project. I share with you the idea to create a book because when you talk about Hopkinton, talk about and Boston Marathon, we talk about history, but you didn't have any book about the love the people have in their hearts and the love they have for this town. Amazing town, was so welcome here. And when I suggested you to do this, it was for the 300th anniversary in 2015. And you launched this book in months. So we have 36 amazing contributors here.
Right. We did took 9 months to put this together and get it published and printed and
Our baby, 9 months, our baby. So you did this project together with people like people from Hopkinton, with people not from Hop, but they love Hopkinton too. So we have like beautiful, it's a story of Hopkinton in poetry, the love of Hopkinton in poetry. So for this book and all the money raised of this book, you donate for charities for 3 organizations in town. So it was like a cycle of love. You gift from the town to the town. That's the meaningful, important value of this book for me and for us. So can I read the poems? Talk about in this book. I have time to read a poem in this book.
Oh, sure. Can you tell the organizations that we were connected with who
Yeah, you donate for Hopton Project Just Because, Serenity House, and Michael Lisner Carter Center. You did the donation officially last year. Sharon and I went there and give the donation after 5 years. You have like selling the books and give the remaining books to the organizations. So I was very grateful the moment you can give the money and help the charities in our town. It was very good.
It was my pleasure to work on that with you, and so please share a poem from the book.
Thank you. Can I read this?
Yeah, yeah. Uh-huh.
So the poem is actually is like a portrait of my journey here, because I was talking about what Hopton's importance because it's a very welcome town. So the poem called The Sign. As a passenger of life, the changes are inevitable. Small changes, big changes. We need to be ready to reinvent ourselves and see the world with a new perspective. Be resilient and keep moving. When Hopton became my home, it was winter 2013. Cold weather, different culture, other language, measurements to learn. Against the winter and snowstorms, a special neighbor came to my home. Gift bag, beautiful card, delicious pumpkin bread, and a winter candle. Welcome to the neighborhood, she said. Warm hug, a smile, special neighbors, no more boundaries. I've learned with my new beginnings. Hopton Running Club, where I met my best friends in town, Tuesdays runs, brunches and laughs, Saturday runs, 5Ks, half marathons, relays, teamwork, friendship. We are sharing the way. In Hopton Center for the Arts, my path becomes colorful landscapes, words in brushes, shades of joy. Painting is a different way of communication of the colors that come from your heart. We are all blossoming and growing in life. In Hopkinton, the poetry flows naturally as a soft breeze. The town is very inspiring when you are ready to wake up and smell the poetry. The art gives meaning and inspiration about life. In my early days in Hopkinton, I remember the first thing that I saw in town when I moved from Brazil. It was Christmas season, it, and there were two red rainbows, and the sign said everything since the beginning. Welcome to Hopkinton. It's true. I can feel Hopkinton is a gift. You're all welcome here. The poem that I made for this book.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, that reminds me what you're reading in there uh, also about what you did recently with the start of this pandemic and quarantine. You were telling me you get all these seeds of creative ideas, and you were inviting me to do it, and you took off and did it already. 140 messages of inspiration to your neighbors.
The story, 124 notes. I was like an anonymous neighbor doing this and
Oh, it's supposed to
action.
be anonymous.
Was, yeah, well, now it's not anymore. But yes, I did like because I saw people are not so overwhelmed and anxious with the moment we're living. And after the news was Saturday, March 21st, I wrote about that. Is actually is one of the stories that are sharing in the book.
Oh,
The project
yeah, we
Words
can
of
talk about
Hope.
that now.
Yeah, you can I prefer I read first or talk about the project first?
Ooh, well, oh gosh, we have not much time left. So,
I have two things to say yet: the
okay.
project
Yeah.
and the art on the trails that I like to like talk about in
All
South
right.
Pole.
All right.
So
Why don't you
5 minutes?
start on the trails, and then we'll go to the book project because we have about 3 more minutes or so.
Okay, so art on the trails in South Row. So I'm doing this project with my dear friend Catherine Weber, and she invited me to be part of the poetry aspect of the art on the trails in South Row since 2017. She's the founder and director of this project, hosted by South Row Open Land Foundation, Bills Preserve. South Row is a beautiful trail. You have to try. You went there. I saw you there, huh? So it's a beautiful trail. You have the website artonthetrails.com. You can see the details about the art submissions. What is this? Because I don't have a lot of time. So this project is people can submit art. Okay, they can submit their art now until May 1st. They can submit art projects for this project art on the trails. You because the pandemic, you put the guideline as a little bit more, give more time for the people submit art. So we have a juror, you submit your art, and then you have an opening reception in June. So now the important thing is the team this year is rising up so properly for this time you're living, rising up. So if you have an art piece, it's an outdoor exhibition, so you have to submit your art in this website, artonthetrails.com. You have all the information there. And June 11th is our opening reception. This year, you'll be a virtual opening reception. So you'll be different. And you like to invite everyone to be there because it's virtual, but it's very important. It's very nice. And after the day of the art opening reception, you have like the poetry part of the art on the trails on people can submit their poems by the end of July, and then in September you select the poems. You have a jury for that. I am of the jurors, Maurice Nell and me. You are the poetry jurors, editors and poets of this project. So you judge like a blind submission, you judge the poetry, and the poems become a book. So this is 2017 2017 2018 2019 the every year you have a different theme. And you like to invite people to participate. It's very important. Remember, it's May 1st. It's very important. Talk with Catherine. She's watching now. I saw she's watching now. So, hey, Catherine, May 1st. I said that. So please submit your art.
Nature and poetry and art all into your home on your personal computer or
yes.
Social media.
Yeah, respect. So you can go there to the trail to visit, respecting the social distance. No for the opening reception because you cannot have a lot of people there together. You know that more than ever. So you can go for guide tours after, respect the social distance. The poet can go there and write a poetry in response to the art that will be there during the summer. And September usually is our closing ceremony. I don't know how the world will be in September. So if you have a closing ceremony, you have the poetry walk and people are reading their poems in response to the art there.
Well, it'll be a wonderful event. It always is. And everybody is adapting this year in really creative ways. And that's what this is about.
Yes.
So it will be a great program to look forward to. I see I had a message from Matt, and Ron Israel is about to come, I think. Matt, I'm not sure. He might be waiting next. So depending on what I see for a message, hopefully Ron is in the house too. And I'm sorry it makes our conversation so short, but the intention is, since you're coming back and we're going to talk about this new project we're working on, that is your idea of putting a book together.
If I have more than 1 minute, I can say very shortly about. Actually, I checked how many poems this project called Hopton Beyond, Words of Hope that Connect Us in Challenging Times. We are doing this since the April 10th, Sherry and I. And I'm glad to talk to you and give this very super good news. You have 41 poems now.
Awesome.
Yeah, I just checked now with 22 writers that already submit the poetry.
Excellent.
Yeah, that's amazing. Thank you very much for people who are submitting, still submitting, because you can check the detail in submission guidelines in our website. Is hoptontruepoetrybook.com.
So it's Hopkinton through THROUGH.
The hoptontruepoetrybook.com is the website, and you can go to the banner and then just click and you have the email. Our email is hoptongenerationbook@gmail.com if you like to submit your poetry. If you like to read more about the project, you can go to hoptontruepoetrybook.com. And I'd like to invite everyone to submit your poem. I'm so happy to have already 41 poems in 10 days. Woo!
That's right. That's exciting. And we're also trying to reach out to friends all over, not only the country, but the world, friends of ours from Hopton.
Oh, yeah. The first poem came from Australia.
That's great. I'm really looking forward to this. We're trying to get some video, and we're also going to put another book together. I'm looking forward to this project with you so much, and I always love working with you, Cynthia. So everybody, take a look on the internet for Cynthia França and see what she's up to next. It's always something amazing. So I have to say goodbye to Nat. And thank you so much for being on. You're going to be back again. So
okay, and I read my story next time if I have a chance.
That will be a good time to do it. So keep writing and keep doing all the great things you're doing for our community in the world.
Thank you very much. I love you. Love you all.
Bye-bye. Good night. We love
Thank you. Good night. Thank you.
All right. And here comes Ron Israel, I believe. Ron is a singer-songwriter. He identifies as a modern folk singer-songwriter. And he is here tonight because I have been collaborating with him as well the past year on a project that we got started together because we happened to be sharing our art together just in an email exchange on the topic of aging. Hi, Ron, there you are. And we just need your mic unmuted on your panel there.
Okay.
How are you doing where you are at this interesting time of pandemic and quarantine?
Yeah, I'm okay. I'm doing okay. Just hunkered down here.
Yeah.
In Milton, outside of Boston. Yeah.
Yes, well, that's good to hear. I know you've been busy writing songs about the pandemic, right? And life that we're going to hear in a couple of minutes. I want to make sure we have enough time for that. But just as I got started on my introduction with you, I know about you. You began writing songs around the age of 12, according to your website. And you've been writing ever since, and you are very prolific in songwriting, I know. And one thing noted on your website is that you had the opportunity to enter a career in music industry, and your life took a different turn from that. And you wrote you decided to have a family and have a life as well as write songs, but you kept going, and you've been writing songs, and it seems to be an interesting journey. All these CDs you've created, 8 of them, is it?
11 actually.
11. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
probably some I don't know of then.
Yeah.
And what would you say? I mean, you've written a few songs you're sharing tonight on the pandemic. What would you say topics have been that you've covered?
Well, the thing is that I consider myself right now at heart to be a folk singer, in the tradition of Woody Guthrie and Dylan and Pete Seeger and those people. And my occasionally I kind of mask my folk singer label and call myself a singer songwriter, because sometimes folk singers are in disrepute culturally for whatever reason. But lately I've been kind of proud of the folk singer label, because my understanding, my interpretation of what a real folk singer does is that he or she writes and sings songs about the times that they're living in. And so through the CDs that I've done, many of them are quite topical and focus on issues that are currently going on in the world. So, I've done a couple of protest CDs about the current political administration. I've done a CD on songs for developing countries that focus on issues affecting the third world. I did a CD about Folk Singer's Guide to Cancer, which I went through. So I try to stay current with my music. And so currently, I've been writing several songs about the pandemic, which is hard to escape in many different ways. So I've been trying to capture, the pandemic in seeing it through diverse lens, through the sad, the sobering, the political, sometimes, occasionally, the comical bits of it. So that's what I've been doing the past couple of months since I've been quarantined.
Well, there's certainly a lot of different ways of looking at it and writing about it, I imagine. And maybe we should have you perform those. But in talking about collaborating, you and I had exchanged some written work last year through email, and the topic was aging at the time. And I think you shared a song, and I said, "Oh, I wrote about a very similar topic with aging," and we put together a project. Which at the time we borrowed the line from poet Richard Blanco, the former inaugural poet for President Obama, who said, "Holy crap, I'm mortal." And we talked about mortality and the human condition. We were putting programs together that way. And it's taking on a whole new meaning in this year. And we are in the midst of change, evolving with it, perhaps.
Yeah.
We're going to see, right?
Yeah. Well, I hope we still get to do it, maybe in this new world of Zooms and Skypes and technology ways of connecting people and artists to their audiences. I hope we can still do it. I think we're adjusting it now to what's going on. But at the core, I mean, I think we share your poetry and my songs often dovetail in terms of, focusing on topics that interest us both, including mortality and nature and the human condition and what lifts us. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, well, it's been very interesting, the learning as well as co-creating with you. So I look forward to that. And now, would you share the songs? And I don't know the time. I know that we end about 8. If you sing us out and just keep going, that's fine too.
Okay. Okay.
And
The week's
feel free to
about
introduce.
3 minutes long, so I may go a little over. I can just do two of them.
Well, let's see how it goes.
Okay.
I'm the one who said no zooming ever, and said it to you. And now look at this.
Yeah.
We're having a program together with your songs.
Okay, so this first song is called Our Jobs Now. It's about the way different people view their work in the pandemic. Can you hear my guitar?
Yes.
I count the numbers in the plague, the living, the dying, who's got it, where's it hiding? I measure frequencies, not pain. I count the numbers in the plague. I do the news in the plague. Talk to big shots about decisions. Ask folks about their condition, no longer getting paid. I do the news in the plague. I am a doctor in the plague. I work with patients who are sick, try to make this damn thing quit. Does my mask put me at risk? How well was it made? I do a doctor in the plague. I got furloughed in the plague. Can't do what I am able, can't put bread upon my table. Look to government for some shade. I got furloughed in the plague. I am the mayor in the plague. I make rules I hope will matter. Stop the spread, slow the chatter. Help those low on the ladder. Worry, will my city be okay? I am the mayor in the plague. I dig graves in the plague. My work goes on endlessly. It's getting too much for me. My shovel and my spade. I dig graves in the plague. I am just meat in the plague. A little anxious, a little frightened. Hope the news one day will brighten. I call my brother and I pray. I am just me in the plague.
Oh, thank you. So many voices you represented in that song.
Yeah. Okay, I'll just, in the interest of time, I'll move on. I'll try to change the mood a little bit. And there's a song called Quarantine. It's actually a sing-along for anybody that's listening, so in their couches, on their room. Feel free to join in on this. I'm in quarantine. My baby, she's in quarantine. And Juju, he's in quarantine too. What do you do? 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 My neighbor is in quarantine. Her neighbor's in quarantine. His neighbor is in quarantine too. What do you do? 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 Now blacks are in quarantine and browns are in quarantine and whites are in quarantine too. So what do you do? 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 It's just a crazy virus begat by a bat that's trying to overtake us. Well, what do you think? What do you think about that? You know, movie stars, they're in quarantine, athletes in quarantine, murderers in quarantine too. What do you do? 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 Muslims, quarantine. Jews, quarantine. Christians, quarantine too. Well, what do you do? 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 Just think about the robots. They get a free ride. Well, maybe they're gonna overtake us while everyone is inside. 'Cause we're all stuck in quarantine till the ending of this scene. Days, months, centuries. What do we do? What do we do? What do we do?
Thank you, Ron.
Yeah.
I could hear the voices out there. I can see how that's a great sing-along song. Are you posting any of these as video songs? I know you've done that.
Not, well, this next one I'm going to do is on a video. It's actually on YouTube. Doug Kortler, who I think was on your program, is also my producer, and he and I collaborated on this video for this next song, which actually was written before the pandemic, but I think is kind of relevant to it. So, do I have time? Should I start out or no?
What's that?
Do I have time to do this?
Well, why don't you start singing and sing us out? If we get ended, we'll look for you on the internet then, on YouTube. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All in this together, brother, don't you know? All in this together, that's just how we roll. Going through some hard times, dark forces rule the land. They won't go away unless we make a stand. But I ain't standing no place unless I stand with you. I ain't going nowhere unless you're going to. All in this together, body and soul, all in this together. Well, that's just how we roll. You say you got some ideas and we disagree. That might be true, but ideas, they're just like leaves. They come in different colors, offer you some shade, but in the end, they all fall down with the difference they thought they made. All in this together, so the story's told. All in this together, 'cause that's just how we roll. They put us in our places, call us dumb or smart, wear different colors that make us look apart. But that kind of branding, it only goes so far. Deep inside you see how similar we are. All in this together, that's how they made the mold. All in this together, 'cause that's just how we roll. That's just how we roll. At the end of the day, we rise together, fall together, though it don't seem that way. Someone always seems to be putting up a fight, but there won't be a victory unless we can unite. All in this together, don't misread the road. All in this together, that's just how we roll. That's just how we roll.
Thank you so much, Ron. That's an important message for us to end with this evening. Thank you for coming by on Zoom
Hey, thank you.
and sharing your song.
Bye.
Look for your website and your YouTubes and our program to be in the future, as well as all the other good work you're doing in the world.
Okay, thanks so much for having me, Cheryl. Thanks so much for doing this.
All right.
On
And
Zoom, amazing.
Thank you, Prue, also, and take care, everyone, tonight as we're all in this together. Good night.